Hello, hello everybody, good morning. My name is Anna Todorova. I'm an artist, and since 2015, I have been working in collaboration with Racursi Art Gallery on various projects that aim the facilitation of accessibility for visually impaired people to art. We developed this training course for the project EU UNESCO for All Tour, in which Racursi Gallery is a partner. The objective of the course is to teach how to build an effective marketing plan for promoting cultural heritage when targeting visually impaired people, or the inclusive marketing plan, marketing reinvented for visually impaired people. Now, the marketing plan training presented here is going to be applicable to a new product in the context of attracting and designing a service for people with visual impairments. It's considered that you are initiating a new product or service where visually impaired people are the ones to benefit from it. Now, several key points when initiating your marketing plan are to be taken into consideration on each step. First, the targeted group is preset. These are people with visual impairments in this case and their fellow travelers. Second, various organizations focused in cultural heritage accessibility may apply this plan in both the public and the private sectors. And third, we consider that the trainees understand and have knowledge about marketing creation and marketing as a conception. Now, the learning objectives of this lecture. The learning objectives are meant to be able to give you guidelines on how to create a marketing plan, execute it, and measure the outcomes of it. The learning outcomes are on the slide in front of you. You can see the learning outcomes we aim to achieve with the idea of being beneficial to blind people. You can read the slide in front of you. Now, the main topics covered in this session are phase 1, initiation of the product or service intended for people with visual impairment. Phase 2, defining the external factors. Phase 3, insight analysis and preparation. Phase 4, creation of an action plan and SWOT analysis. Phase 5, components of a promotional plan. And finally, phase 6, budgeting. Now, phase 1, initiation of the product or service intended for people with visual impairments. For this phase, even though we assume this is finalized on your side before proceeding to marketing and promotion, we'll share with you some guidelines as per our experience and expertise. Several key points are mandatory to be checked when building your product or service targeting visually impaired people. Most important is to define the special needs of the targeted group. In this case, the visually impaired people. You must ensure that you're taking into consideration the overall situation and concerns of the people with visual impairments for building a full experience for them, from the transportation means, providing beverages and food, to the departure itself. Everything must be fully accessible. Easy access to the cultural sites is crucial. Appropriate transportation and accommodation according to their special needs is also crucial. Developing a concept for an exhibition, either temporary or permanent. Creation of an exhibition path, considering the type of the museum or gallery, the available spaces, the way of presentation of the cultural objects, related activities planned out, etc. Defining the topical content according to the age, the level of knowledge of art, their interests and needs of the targeted group. Preparing of the exhibits, artworks, tactile objects from materials that are the closest to their original for authentic experience. Giving the opportunity of a direct contact with them for making the exhibition fully accessible. Another thing is you must prepare audio guides, labels in Braille, and in large size font, including other CCI-related technologies for facilitating the presentation of art. Making the space physically accessible is also very important, with the appropriate lighting and the way of presentation of the art objects. Defining a clear goal, your vision, and a mission. Goals. This is for you to be able to estimate if the campaign, event, service, or product were successful. You decide what the goals are and how to measure them afterwards. For example, the goal is creating accessible tourism products and promoting UNESCO heritage sites. The vision. Your vision is what you like to achieve with the current plan. What added value you propose to the involved parties. And mission. It should be a clear and a short motto-like statement with motivational purposes to be used by the team involved in the advertising and dissemination purposes. Questions to answer. The 3 W's. What, when, where, plus the question how. How many people you intend to attract to the activity and scope? What is the maximum capacity? What's the mission and the outcome you desire to achieve? What's the value for the targeted group? Now we come to phase 2. Defining the external factors. Defining the economical, demographic, cultural, and technology factors. Just to answer, what's the income of the targeted group? This will help for better price making. What's the average age of the target group in the region? And cultural specifics. This will help for the creation of more suitable content and the provision of better service. What technology will be used? Bringing forward CCI technology implementation should be key. All online content should be adapted for visually impaired people. Defining suppliers, partners, intermediaries, and channels. Questions to answer once we choose the external stakeholders for execution of the different activities set in the plan. Are they adequately trained for the needs of the targeted group? What's their experience with this? Is there something additional that can be supplemented in order to raise the quality and fulfill the special needs of the targeted group? Here, we advise you that you first approach local organizations working with visually impaired people. For example, different NGOs and governmental organizations, schools, for instance, which are specializing and supporting these groups of people and respectively have the know-how on how to execute specific activities. We go to phase 3, insight analysis and preparations. Evaluation of the current state of the organization which will implement the new product and level of preparedness. Analysis of the branding. Analysis of online channels and the accessibility. Questions to answer. Is your organization prepared to work with visually impaired people? Are the channels you've chosen accessible to people with visual impairments? i.e., is your website friendly to visually impaired people? Are these channels initially targeting your group? Are there hard copy materials and Braille? Based on previous answers in this phase, you should be able to adapt the content and the channels you're intending to use. Also, you should be able to further refine both and see if they express your vision, your mission, set in phase 1, and if they represent your service or product the best way possible. You also need to research what's needed to be done in order to apply these. Phase 4, creation of action plan and SWOT analysis. When you set all the actions needed for execution, you should create an action plan as well so you can manage things easily and control the effectiveness and control the expenses. Creating an effective action plan. Choose action steps that are concrete, measurable, and attainable. These steps should be clearly defined, not just vague ideas. Identify who is responsible for each action step and who will be supporting them. Provide a clear schedule for completing action steps. It's important to break down the timeline for each step along the way. List resources necessary for accomplishing action steps. Communicate with key people about the plan's progress and effects as it is carried out. SWOT analysis. To evaluate and refine. Both internal and external factors are entirely determined by you. You may gather, involve people in the creation of the project and brainstorm together and try to improve all at one or two sessions or more if needed. Internal factors. Strengths, weaknesses. Write down your internal strengths and weaknesses so you may evaluate the state of the marketing plan you've created as per your understanding. External opportunities and threats. Write down the external opportunities and threats. Templates for SWOT analysis vary, but you may use this simple one that you see on the slide. Both external and internal evaluations should consider the specifics of the targeted group. Now we come to phase 5, components of a promotional plan. The components of the promotional plan are broken down into 4 areas of marketing: advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, and public relations. Due to the specifics of the targeted group, every promotional plan should ensure that the tools implemented into it are well tailored for them. All advertising and sales promotion to be accessible in auditory and tactile formats. The PR channels are to be specialized and to be intended initially for the audience targeted with your plan. Go creative with personal selling, think like them and where you can meet them. And we come to the final phase, phase 6, budgeting. Every project needs a strictly set budget. Once you've done your research, finalized the SWOT and the action plan, supposedly now you have a clear idea what resources, channels, and expenses you need for the execution of the marketing plan you've created. You should create a simple balance sheet and develop a budget. This is our presentation. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask them now in the session. Okay, guys, if you don't have any additional questions, this presentation will be translated in Bulgarian language and will be uploaded in YouTube. We will open a discussion forum for those of you who want to deepen their knowledge. It will work in Bulgarian language, so you may ask your questions and we'll answer them. If you don't have anything additional, you may finish for today. Thank you for the attention and I wish everybody a good day. Thank you.